So now we're going to learn how to use the keywords and or to connect conditions. And is spelled out with two ampersands and is used to connect two conditions that need to be true simultaneously for the concept you want to check for. Or is spelled out with that symbol that is called the pipe, and you find it above the backslash. So shift backslash will be pipe, and that represents or. We use it when we want to connect two conditions that at least one of the two needs to be true. An exclamation point is to negate a condition. So here's what how we would spell them out. First one, x greater than y, and at the same time a is less than b. Second one, if x is equal to y or x is equal to z. And finally, if we want to check if x is not greater than y, we would put the exclamation point in front of the condition, not in front of the symbol. Here's how we would use the and operator in an example. If temperature is less than 20 and at the same time minutes is greater than 12, then display temperature is in the danger zone. So that's what that code fragment would do. Check the syntax. We use something that is called the truth table to evaluate when a combined condition will be true with the different keywords and or. So this is the truth table for the and operator. You're going to see that all the cases will be false unless both conditions are true. So true and false is false, false and true is false, false and false is false, true and true is the only one that is true. So here you have another example. The person will qualify for a loan if the salary is greater than or equal to 50,000 and the years on the job is greater than or equal to 2. Both conditions must be true simultaneously. So the person needs to earn more than or equal to 50,000 and have been in the job for at least 2 years. Otherwise, it means that one of the two is not true or both are not true. The or operator will be used to check if at least one of the two conditions that are listed are true. When at least one is true, the whole condition will be true. So here you have the temperature exercise, but saying that if temperature is less than 20 or the temperature is greater than 100, so one of the two needs to be true, then the temperature is in the danger zone. The truth table for this operator is that all the cases are going to be true unless both conditions are false. So true or false will give you true, false or true will give you true, false or false will give you false, and true or true will give you true. Here's the same example for the qualification for the loan, but the rule in this case is that the person needs to at least make a certain number of dollars or have been in the job for a certain length of time. So it reads, if salary is greater than or equal to 50,000 or the years on the job is greater than or equal to 2, then display that the person qualifies for the loan. Otherwise, you do not qualify. So it means that both conditions are false to get that the person doesn't qualify. The AND operator can be used to check if a number is within a range. So the typical example of converting a score to a letter grade. If a number X is between 20 and 40, we want to say that the value of X is in the acceptable range. So we would say if X is greater than or equal to 20 and X is less than or equal to 40. If we wanted to check for the opposite, if we wanted to check that the value is not in the range, then we would use this expression. If X is less than 20 or X is greater than 40. That's how we would express that the value is not within the range 20 to 40. And I'm going to explain this in detail with my notes on a whiteboard. Hopefully I don't confuse you more with my explanation. How do we check if a value is not within a range? So I'm going to use our grading system. So how do we check if the person enter a grade that is not 0 to 100, so we can tell them you enter the wrong score? Well, we could write the condition for the value within the range first and work it from there. So this is how we would check if the value is within the range. If score is greater than or equal to 0 and at the same time the score is less than 100, it means that the number is within the range. And Java gives us the exclamation point to negate a condition. So we could put that in front, and then we are checking if it is outside of the range. So it's not within 0 to 100. But that would be confusing if you have that line of code in a very long program. It would be very difficult to spot the exclamation point in front of a condition. So it would be confusing to another programmer or yourself. So notice the two examples here. It's very difficult to see that there is an exclamation point on the second one. So what can we do? I'm going to tell you now. We can use the opposite expression using logical operators, which is what the textbook was giving us as an example. So here's how you convert within the range to outside of the range. You grab the two, you're checking for greater than or equal to, then you grab the opposite symbol, less than. You're checking for less than or equal to, and you grab the opposite symbol, would be greater than. So there you worked out your two extreme conditions, less than 0, greater than 100. And you connect them with OR because you had the previous conditions check for AND. Graphically, this is why we would use OR rather than AND. Take a look at the line of numbers, the segment 0 to 100. If you want to check for a number outside of the range, it will be on the blue area, that's less than 0, on the red area, that is greater than 100. A number cannot be simultaneously in both areas because it will either be a negative number or it will be greater than 100. You don't have any negative number that is greater than 100. So it is impossible to have both happening simultaneously. So you're going to check for either or. You're not going to check for and. So you're going to use the or to connect both conditions. Using and would not be a syntax error, so the compiler is not going to identify it. It will be a logical error. So you need to make sure you understand this and you don't make this mistake. If we use and, this condition will always be false because it's impossible for any value to be in the two areas at the same time. So we would spell it if n is less than 0 or n is greater than 100. Similarly, we need to watch out for not using the wrong symbol to connect two conditions when we want to find out if a number is within a range. So within a range, we need to use and. If n is greater than or equal to 0 and n at the same time is less than or equal to 100, it means that the number is within the range 0 to 100. So it is in that red area. All the numbers in the red area are greater than or equal to 0 and at the same time less than or equal to 100. So both conditions happen simultaneously. Spelling it with OR, it will be a logical error, and we're going to test this condition with 5 values. 3 that are within the range and 2 that are outside of the range. So 0 will check if 0 is greater than or equal to 0, the condition is true. So we stop checking because once that one condition is true, the whole condition is true. 75 is greater than or equal to 0, the whole condition is true because the two conditions are connecting with OR. 100 is greater than or equal to 0, so that condition is true, the whole condition is true because we're connecting with OR. So we're doing great, right? Wait, we're not done. We need to check with values that are outside of the range and make sure that this works for us correctly. So what happens with negative 100? Negative 100 greater than or equal to 0? No, it's going to be false. But we're connecting with OR, so we need to keep checking. We need to check if n is less than or equal to 100. So we need to check if negative 100 is less than or equal to 100. And what's the answer to that condition? Negative 100 less than or equal to 100 will be true, right? So if we have the first condition false and the second one is true, the combined condition will be true when we're connecting false or true. The whole condition is true. Remember the truth table? That's what the truth table means. 500 greater than or equal to 0 is true. True or anything is true. So it's telling us that both negative 100 and 500 are values that are correct for numeric grades, and that would be wrong. So we are proving here that this is a logical error because any value that we used is going to tell us that the whole condition is true. So that's a condition that is always true. If n greater than or equal to 0 and at the same time n is less than or equal to 100 is the correct way to check if a value is within a range. Be careful. Do not use OR when you want to find if a number is within a range. Okay? So we use AND for within the range and OR for outside of the range. And the next thing that we need to do is to practice with some exercises. So I'm going to ask you now to practice with me some programs that are checking ranges. Some are going to be numeric and some are going to be characters, because we can check if a character is an uppercase letter by checking if the letter is between uppercase A and uppercase Z.